a nice little progression through all the various steps and considerations that students are going to make.
You like that?
All right.
Trying to smoke.
Thank you. I think
They're relatively inexpensive, they're less than $20.
But it's Fitzgerald and Ruth. They're really.
I think even if colleges don't give credit or whatever, this is still a leg up. And every time we can give our students a leg up, then I think it's what we should do. Does anybody have any other questions?
I was just gonna make a comment sort of actually like what you're saying about like getting understanding. This also I think would be a good thing for teachers if they know that students never wants to have that dive into it. This is also kind of like now the teacher has, you can kind of keep your eye out for those students who it would succeed.
That's a really good suggestion.
It's one of the benefits of having teachers trained in multiple departments, because those conversations often happen in faculty room, and another social studies teacher will go, oh yeah, well, push them towards capstone or something like that. That'd be a good way to make sure that happens.
This is very exciting. Thank you.
Super
So,
exciting.
there's no objections going forward.
Yeah, you have one more. I have one more. Mrs. Washam's going to join me here for the language.
Okay, so this is ESL Science.
Are we all good? Okay. So back for another one. The next proposed course is for an ESL Science, standalone or sheltered science course for our level 1 and level 2 English language learners. And Mrs. Washington can comment on that aspect of it, and then I can speak to the value of having, an isolated science course for that.
So essentially what we're having over the last few years is that we have a lot of new incoming ESL students who are newcomers, level 1s, high level 1s, very low level 2s, that may have had interrupted schooling or not very formal schooling in science. And what we're doing is when they enroll, they're having to take bio and take the keystone. And they are meeting an unsurmountable obstacle. They're all repeating keystones the following year. And a lot of it is because they're missing some of the foundational skills, and also they're acquiring language where there's so much content-specific vocabulary for them that they're struggling in a general science course with the level of language acquisition that they're at. So what we've really looked at to see is that how can we offer our newer language students opportunities to gain the skills that they need and to understand the content for science that they need in a smaller setting, and then also have the scaffolds that an ESL teacher that would provide. We are extremely lucky to have a dually certified secondary science and secondary ESL teacher at our high school. By having that, in my opinion, gem of a resource already on our staff, it makes sense for us to really allow our level 1s and our newcomers and our Ls that might have had interrupted schooling to have this sheltered science course so that they're able to be more successful the following year taking bio. So the proposal really, and you can go through the science component, I feel like I've talked a little bit of your part of it. This has been something that Mrs. Baker, who is the ESL teacher at the high school, and I have been talking about for the last 2 years, that as we're getting more and more students in ESL, our numbers aren't very high, but the students that we do have are fairly low on the language acquisition scale, meaning that they're really either new to the country or they are really in the beginning stages of acquiring that language, and that this would really give them the opportunity to have an ESL teacher working with them with the content that they need in order to be successful for the following year. So this would be a year-long course, and they would take the bio the following year. You want to talk about this?
Sure. I did ask Mrs. Baker for some historical data about the number of students that this course would serve, and on average, it's probably between 8 to 12 students per year. So it'd be almost an ideal class size for a course of this nature. And again, having the staff member already in place is beyond ideal. I have commitments from 2 other teachers to assist with the curriculum writing aspect of it all. One from our, chemistry department or sub-department, and another in our biology department, who are both very strong in those areas, just to cover the foundational work and those essential concepts that we feel like are most important for these students to have exposure to and to dive into before jumping into the full-blown biology course, you know, to better prepare them for success a year later, and just, you know, lay the groundwork, establish science literacy #1, and then, you know, start to gain that exposure and that familiarity with a lot of the concepts that are troubling, you know, our native English-speaking students. And just giving them that additional time and exposure to work through those concepts with a teacher who knows how to properly scaffold and support, I think will be exceptional. So in terms of staffing, again, we're at an advantage, because the cost associated with, you know, initializing this course is, you know, restricted to curriculum writing. And it would just be the time for these teachers to collaborate. And again, you know, we'd like to see mostly a chemistry, physics, you know, component, and a pretty strong emphasis on the biology component to help them better prepare.
Question?
That makes sense.
Thank you. Yeah, very much.
Good idea. Okay. So the next item is our class rank discussion. Class rank GPA grading.
So 4 of us will be presenting, on this topic this evening. I will begin it, and Dr. Holt will also. So as many of you know, we've been discussing class rank for the past several years. As early as last spring, we had a full presentation, and then there were questions by the committee and board members, and we came back and we presented again. So I do believe overall this may be the 4th time that we're coming to have this discussion with you. We're here to seek your feedback on the recommendations that we will be presenting this evening. I do want to publicly thank Dr. Bolton for his guidance and his leadership, as well as Mr. Bowman, who was unable to be here tonight but certainly wanted to, Mr. Duplicki, Dr. Price, and the high school guidance department for their contributions to the overall recommendations, because this has been happening over a number of years, the ideas. And I also want to let you know that we will be sharing this information with the high school staff, the 4 of us, on Thursday, to ask them, solicit some feedback from them as well. So thank you again for taking the opportunity, or for giving us the opportunity to talk about class rank. It really has been something that has troubled us, has caused some angst over the past couple of years that we hope to be able to rectify. So we'll start by, and I'll be giving you a broad picture, but we will get into depth and particulars will be discussed. But so we talked about what are the goals, what are we trying to accomplish when we look at class rank or relook at it, and we want to increase student recognition. We do. We are looking at ways to do that. You're going to see some additional ideas that we may not have discussed so that we can provide student recognition to more students. We also want to encourage students to take the appropriate rigorous courses, and we want to incentivize AP placement, advanced placement courses. So why do we make these changes? We're trying, so additionally, in terms of goals, we want to eliminate the reporting of class rank, but we will include a decile information for the graduating class on the school profile. When we get to slide 5, you'll actually see what that is. So I think for 2018, top 5% was at 4.4 and above. So you'll see that. So we want to include the decile information on the school profile. I'm sorry, they can't see this whole screen here. We'll also be looking at GPA. It'll be based, we'd like it to be based solely on performance and the strength of the class, and remove the current credit divisor. Mr. Jakuki will be talking more in depth about that. We also really looked at our grading system, And we would like to make the recommendation to add the plus minus to our letter grades. We really do believe, and you'll see that actual slide on what that looks like. It'll give students and parents a better picture of performance and a more precise GPA. We'd like to look at the Laude system and recognize students for their level of achievement or performance, just like the college system is. So we'll be looking at cum laude, magna cum laude, summa cum laude, that our students would be able to graduate with that honor. The student move-ins, that has caused some angst over the past couple of years with our current policies. And we need to be looking at non-Penridge High School course credit will not exceed allowable credit for students who attend Penridge High School for all 4 years. That has affected Penridge students over the last couple of years, and we would like to make that change as well. In terms of college courses, though college courses will impact the student's GPA, and in terms of a major content area, we would be providing honors weighting. And for elective areas, we would assigning academic weighting. So these are the broad, big picture areas. Mr. Jablicki will be next, and he'll talk more in depth about those.
This next slide is actually a screenshot of our current high school profile, which colleges and other institutions receive when they receive our transcripts from our students from our school. And what Dr. Sy just mentioned is that we would also be adding the deciles to that profile, so that, as an example, then they're using the numbers from the class of 2018. We would be able to let colleges know what the GPA was for the various percentiles and how many, what the levels of performance was in each of those percentiles, all the way down to the 50th percentile. If you want more, we can do more. But just to give you an example of what that would mean, and that just basically tells a college a little bit more about the overall performance of the high school. Another part that Dr. Sy had mentioned that we are recommending is to change the current grading scale to add plus minus grading. For those of you who are not aware, right now our grading scale is a very simplified A, B, C, D grading scale, where we have an AP column, we have an honors column, and an academic column, like you see there, but there are no pluses and minuses. Certainly gets an A for simplicity, but in terms of truly rewarding students for their efforts and what they've done to accomplish something over the years is extremely, it's not as valuable as something where we add in the pluses and minuses to the scale. As you can see as you might imagine, in a plain ABCD grading system, a student who has an 81 might not feel any motivation to get an 85 or an 86 or an 87, because there's no additional reason to do so in terms of GPA and in the concurrent system rank. Same holds true for an A. So if you could imagine a student sitting at an 80 and a student sitting at 100, in terms of value in GPA, or merely just a little notch across the 89 to 90 barrier. And I think we think this is something that gives students more recognition and certainly a more accurate picture of their efforts and their accomplishments of where they stand, and certainly hopefully a little bit more of a motivation. Well, I gotta be nice, like maybe I can get a B, or I can get a B plus, and so forth and so on. Certainly makes it more doable if you look at it from that perspective. Additionally, another piece that we sought to change or improve was incentivizing AP courses. Of course, we want students to do well in AP courses. We encourage them to take the AP exams and do well on those as well. But we also feel that AP is a valuable experience for any student to have at some point in their high school career, because it does present the same type of rigor they're going to see in college. And for every student to experience that in some way would be great. One thing that holds a lot of our students back currently is they feel, well, if I don't get an A, I'm not going to take it. Because if I can't get an A, I'm not going to bother. Well, now as you can see, if you look at the AP, the quality points for AP, at least on the upper part there, it outweighs some of the quality points for honors. Certainly nothing wrong with taking honors courses, they're rigorous as well, but we certainly want to make sure students understand that not getting an A+ or an A in an AP course is okay. It's okay to get an A- or a B, because the research shows that students who take AP courses, just that level of rigor, they feel better prepared going into college. And I think we just heard a little bit about that with the AP Capstone program. With just that type of rigor is extremely important for our students.
May I make one point? I think there's two things I want to mention. Our current system, because we're not showing the current chart, right? Our current system only has this A column, right? There is no such thing as an A+ or an A- in our current system. And the honors jump, so we're all used to an A being a 4.0, right? That's the system we're all used to. Our current honors weight is a 0.5. So in our current one, that would be 4.5. Our AP is worth a 0.8. And so a student who gets an A and an AP gets a 4.8, and then a kid in honors gets a 4.5. You then have to jump down to this 3.0 because it's the next column that exists, right? We don't currently have these other two columns. Our current system would say an AP student who gets a B would get a 3.8. And so that means the difference between getting a B and an AP and getting an A and an honors is 0.7, which is a pretty significant jump in the GPA. And that's what we mean in terms of, we feel like our current system incentivizes students to take honors if you're not sure. So if a student's sitting there talking to a teacher or talking to a guidance counselor going, I love science, but I'm not sure AP Bio is right or whether I should take honors bio because I'm afraid I'll get the B, right? This system, really what we tried to do is say it's worth 2 steps. And so if you get an A in honors, we sat around a table and said, what's that worth? In an AP course, what's that worth? And we all had different answers, which is a neat conversation to think about. But if you look at it, it basically is 2 steps. Where an A in an honors course is the equivalent of a B+ in an AP course. So it is 2 steps, the A- and the B+. Now, it doesn't always work mathematically to be exactly the same because they're not all worth, because you have the 3s and the 4s in terms of, and so here you have a 4.6 and it's a 4.7 in an AP. But it is still roughly 2 steps in terms of the equivalency of being able to do that. And that's where you got these numbers. The recommendation is a plus 0.3 in honors and a plus 1.0 in AP. So that APs are incentivized over honors. We do feel as though hopefully that will push students to more rigorous courses. We'll have our top students taking more APs, but even having more of our honors students try one AP. To say, all right, what's the area I'm most passionate about? Let me try it, and do those kinds of things. The other thing you'll notice is that we decided there would be no incentivizing of anything below a C. That even though Ds are passing, we decided that Cs were proficient, and anything below a C was less than proficient, which means if you do take a course and get a D of any kind or worse, you can see that they are all exactly the same. There would be no incentive for taking an AP course simply to get a D- in it. Right, and the same thing, let me get a GPA bump from that standpoint. So, from that standpoint. Okay? Thank you.
I'm just a little bit surprised though, that you think between academic and honors, the difference is 0.3, but between honors and AP, it's 0.7. Well, I guess I'm looking at A.
Yeah, it's either 0.7 or 0.6.
4.3, 5.0, and so isn't honors really only a 0.3 difference from academic, but an AP is?
And so the question is, and that's obviously an opinion statement you're asking.
Well, no,
And so
I'm not
that's-
sure. I'm surprised. It seems small in comparison. Maybe
It does seem like a big jump.
I just I mean.
And the
AP
conversation
courses, honors
really
courses
was-
are
Yeah.
much more rigorous than academic courses. So.
I agree, as are AP courses more rigorous than honors
Right.
courses, right? And so the question really is, how much is it worth in terms of step? And so academic to honors is basically 1 step, the difference between taking an academic and an honors. As opposed to honors to AP, we incentivized it by making it 2 steps instead of 1. And that really is the difference, where our current system, if we were to have it up there and you look at steps, is incentivizing honors courses.
When you say 2 steps, though, if you look at
So
Two
take,
steps from that would be 4.6, so this is 5.
no, so
So
take
two
a,
steps up from a 4.0, wouldn't that be a 4.6, but instead you're at 500?
so I'm talking about if you got an A in an honors course, that is the equivalent of getting 2 steps lower in an AP course. I'm talking about 2 steps when you go from honors to AP. Right, if you're obviously going from academic to AP, it's 3 steps, because it's 1 to honors and then 2 more to the AP. So really, when kids are making the decision, they're making the decision here, or they're making the decision here. Right, there aren't a lot of students sitting in academics saying, I'm gonna try the AP, so they're talking about taking honors.
So, before you determine,
Yes.
so you're saying students are GPA, look at the C plus in the honors, stay away from.
There's an error. So let me repeat the question for you. Oh yeah, so we have a typo right here, that should be 2.6 again, right? So thank you for noticing. I want to repeat the question. The question was, are we having students who are padding their GPA simply by taking honors courses, right? So I want to separate the type of students we're talking about in terms of the profile, right? Because I've looked pretty heavily at this year's senior class and last year's senior class. So they're my only 2 data points in terms of looking at the data. The students who are at the top end, so if you're looking at our top 100 students or so, they are all over this column, right? And so hopefully we are incentivizing more students to be in that column, but the students who are at the top of our class are already taking the AP because it's already the bump, right? It's 0.8 is more than 0.5. So if you're looking to be ranked near the top of the class, or it's an appropriate course, right? Not all students do it for rank, or it's an appropriate course, they're taking the APs already. And so really the question is, where are the students in this column that can be bumped to this column, and what does it take to get them to incentivize to do that? And so the thought process is this chart, because it does have a bigger jump from honors to AP than from academic to honors, encourages those students to take an AP course in an area that they have a strength in or an interest in from that standpoint. And we would, much rather have a student sit in an AP course in high school and get a sense for what does college biology look like, right? And so they take that course even if they get a B or a B plus or whatever they're gonna get. Because they're still really good students. We're not gonna have a lot of students take APs and fail, right? And that's not the type of the process we're talking about. As opposed to a student saying, it's not worth the gamble because my GPA is going to suffer by 0.7 if I get the B in an AP as opposed to an A in an honors, which is what the current grading system says. So, and obviously this is something that if this is what ends up happening, we then evaluate that, right? We know how many students took APs this year. We evaluate that to the number of students who take it next year, the students who take it the following year, because not all these things implement for 1 year. Right, so obviously depending on the change, it's for different classes, and you'll see that at the end, because we don't want to change the rules for current seniors, right? And there are some rules we don't even want to change for current juniors, because they've been playing by the same rules for 3 years, and they're about to pick classes. So we don't want to change the rules for them, where current freshmen, it feels a little more fair to change the rules, because their schedules are more similar than upperclassmen, because there are fewer options for freshmen, right? Especially in the AP column. Right. Did that help?
Yes.
Okay.
I can always go back, so go for it. Moving forward, because the new grading table allows for more precision, it also allows more accurate representation of achievement. And based on that and the fact that we want to make sure we recognize students, we spoke in the spring of a cum laude system, which is similar to colleges and what they do. And you can see we have the various levels, Summa, Magna, cum laude system with the GPA numbers based on our current system. This is not based on the new table. This is based on our current system, just to give you a sense of what that might look like. Down the bottom, the last bullet there mentions the tangible recognition of graduation. At this point, the one piece we're waiting on, the high school team is also having conversations about what their recommendation would be or would be for how to do that logistically. But certainly many schools do some sort of a symbol system within their graduation programs, with various levels of achievement for students. So that would be at least part of some sort of tangible recognition, whether we ask our student SUMA level at this point lands somewhere a little bit above 10%, right around, I think, right around 12%, I'm pretty sure. So it's that similar group of students that we now acknowledge or have acknowledged in the past as our top 10%. This is a little comparison. Again, sorry, we're chopping off here. We just wanted to compare where students would sit in terms of percentile with a particular GPA, and then what their recognition would be at graduation if that were to change, say, right now. And again, the percentiles, so top 12 or so would be a SUMA, and then we have the magna and cum laude. Just for your reference, from what we've looked at and what we've heard from other schools doing it, and what's the rationale, where do you make the cutoffs? About a little bit less than 40% in colleges tend to get these recognitions. And again, that varies because colleges have much more room to, much more leeway, but about 40% would receive some sort of recognition in terms of this cum laude system as it stands now.
Can I make sure that this screen sinks in with you, because the one topic here that will garner the most conversation is class rank, right? At least from a public standpoint, it will. I don't know where the board is in terms of that conversation as to whether class rank should be eliminated or not eliminated. And this really is from a numbers standpoint, because I think if we had not put that last column on, I would have said, is a 4.2 GPA, where does that fit? And this is last year's graduating class. Okay, not using the divisor. So this is using the non-divisor system. Their GPAs, they calculate GPAs two different ways currently because they use the divisor, so they're higher. But if you do it the college way, our GPAs who were there, we had 66 students, which means if I asked the student who had a 4.2 to stand up, their rank is 66. And so they sound very different to colleges in terms of what that looks like, which is why the decile ranking is important from a college standpoint, because the colleges who know Penridge don't need any of this information. They don't care what we do, right? Because they know our system, they know our students, they know the quality of our program and the types of kids that come there. So the Penn States, the Millersvilles, the Kutztowns, the Pitts, the ones that we have lots of students who attend, don't need this information and you'll see in the quotes, they really don't care what we do from that standpoint, because every school does something differently, so they strip it back anyway. It's if you start applying to a school that doesn't know Penridge. So you apply to a University of Colorado, you apply to a Stanford, you apply to schools where we wouldn't have as many students applying because they're really far away, or they're elite, or they're very specialized, like a College of the Mines in Colorado. There's a very specialized engineering program. The rank versus the decile, they need to know if I'm a 4.2, where did that put me? Because it might be different in Neshaminy. A 4.2 at Neshaminy is not the same as a 4.2 at Haparow, and it's not the same as a 4.2 in CB, and it's not the same as a 4.2 in Penridge. And that's not good, bad, or it's just different. And so they need to know where are you in comparison to your peers. They don't care if you're 66th, 60th, or 68th, right? They care where are you roughly, and so that's why that decile would show you you're at the top end of the second decile. Right, you're just outside the top 10. They don't care whether you're 11th percentile or 12th percentile, but we're still communicating that to them through using the decile ranking. Right? Does that make sense in terms of the number of kids